Settle down, parishioners. A reading from the book of Genesis. In the beginning there was nothing, except for advanced constructed format. And it was fine. Sometimes it was a little less balanced than other times. And John Konami said, "Let there be 75-point last turn." And the judge staff said, "No!" Now let us pray.
Good afternoon, jank enthusiasts. I'm MBT, and this is 10-Minute Testing. We were seconds away from releasing a TMT that was just unwatchable. Here's a fun bit of trivia. Zoo still isn't good. But then Konami swooped in to save the day. As of Monday, there's a new way to play Yu-Gi-Oh! Genesis format. Today we're going to be looking at some of the potential top decks in a 3-list 10-minute testing, and giving you some insight into how your games will play out. Presenting Genesys. Before we get into the decks, though, I want to talk a little bit about how your deck building should shift as a result of this format. In the few days we've had to play with it, we've learned a lot about what's good, but also a lot about what differs from advanced. Firstly, you're going to have to make a choice about hand traps. Cards like Droll and Ash add up quick, and are definitely necessary to constrain a lot of the format's heavy hitters. It might be worth playing a deck with comparatively few hits just to have game against other strategies. Secondly, decks that benefit from non-engine are way worse than you think. We're going to take a look at Vanquish Soul Canine, but a lot of that deck's strength is its ability to leverage non-engine cards like Ash Blossom. Here, not so much. Thirdly, back row is killer. A lot of the side deck back row wipes are too expensive to consider, and a lot of the trap cards that are free are unbelievable. Fourthly, do not get comfortable with these point totals. They've said on the blog they're going to do updates early and often, so be prepared. And finally, going second is occasionally better than going first. There's going to be a significant number of decks that just want the extra card. Firstly, let's anguish with Vanquish Canine. Now, this deck looks mostly untouched, but don't get used to that. I expect after the first point update this will change. That said, it's a lot less good than I think people expect. I've seen a lot of individuals online claiming this is the best strategy by miles, but I just don't really buy it. Consistently having all the attributes in hand is really rough without Rock, and a lack of a guarantee on Izuna because of a lack of hand traps is similarly tough. Still, let's go over the individual cards in the strategy. K9 Izuna is a 20-point card, bringing us to 40. Ripper is an additional 20, bringing us to 60. Zeus Sky Thunder is an additional 20, and unfortunately I think is necessary in this strategy, bringing us to 80. 90 off of Typhon, which pairs nicely with our Lupus, which is a 5. We have 5 points remaining, but there's nothing I really want to play in those slots. We're playing 2 Izuna, 1 Lupus, triple Yokel, 1 Lantern, a Vanquish Soul Caesar Valius, double Heavy Borgar, triple Xiaolong, triple Holisu, triple Raisin, triple Mad Love, 3 copies of DD Crow, a free hand trap you are going to see everywhere. Here, doubly necessary because it's a dark. Same with Skullmeister, a free hand trap that is dark. And Rescue Ace Impulse, +1 copy of Fire Attacker. This is going to be very frequent in decks that can produce bad hands. For us, it's also important because it's a fire hand trap replacing the Ash. We've got 3 Stake Your Soul, a forced release double case for K9, Vanquish Soul Start, and a Snow Devil. In the extra, of course, we don't have access to any links, but we do have Vanquish Soul Rocks, 101 Silent Honor Arc to pair with our C101 in order to make off CXZ's Nash. We've got double Nash Knight. Paradise Smasher is currently free. Don't expect that to last forever. Ripper, Vimana, Valon, the supersized Sky Blaster. The other half of our CXZ's pool here, the Umbral Horror Masquerade and the Masquerade, Werewolf, Typhon, and Zeus. So let's check out a game. Our first match is up against a Naturia Vernisylph. Really interesting strategy here. Gets access to Nat Beast, and because the point totals are so low, it can play powerful hand traps like Malcharmy Fuwalos. We are on Vanquish Soul Canine, but regrettably not in a great position. You can see that we've drawn all darks. This is what I mean when I say that something like a Rocks would really trivialize how easy it would be to keep the Snow Devil on. They're going to go Fuwalo, so we will extend as minimally as possible, probably just going for a Ripper. We're going to go Mad Love here, then we're going to go for Vanquish Soul Start. We can get the Fire here by adding a copy of Xiaolong to hand, but we also need the Xiaolong for the Yokel, so hopefully we draw another 5 off of this Heavy Borgar, and unfortunately we do not. We do grab a forced release, which really makes me think I should be making Ripper, so we're going to go Yokel here, activate the Yokel effect in order to grab an Izuna, and then overlay for a Ripper. That draws our opponent 1 card. We'll go for Ripper effect. We will grab a copy of Yokel for next turn, set 2, and pass back to our opponent. They will draw for turn. We will try and snipe that fire off the top, and it is action, which is something. They're going to go for Quacky Ducky. We will negate that with Ripper. Then afterwards, going to go for Flourishing Hills. That will grab them a copy of Vera, the Vernisylph Goddess, and then they'll activate the effect of the Camellia, sending a Sacred Tree in order to grab a Naturia Blessing. I'm expecting the Mole Cricket normal here, and unfortunately they do get it. They're going to go for the effect of the Mole Cricket, boosted off the Camellia. We have to go forced release here to contest the Sunflower, otherwise all of our stuff is off. We will send it to the yard, but that doesn't resolve the the problem because we have to go Werewolf here and DD Crow targeting this copy of Sunflower, forcing out the Naturia Blessing. Then we go Izana, and unfortunately at point of resolution, they are going to have this copy of Sunflower on field, which means as we go for the Skullmeister, as they go for the Caldo, they will be able to contest it, and we won't be able to get anything off of this Lupus. What you see is what you get on board at present. So let's see how far our opponent can go from here. They are going to synchro off for a copy of Naturia Beast and get over this copy of Izana, but that's really all they can accomplish, and as a result, they will concede, knowing we have it on the crackback. Our second deck is Fire King, and I love this deck. It's probably my favorite strategy in Genesis at present. If Gage has uploaded by now, you've seen me play it on his channel, but let's be realistic. The way Gage's upload schedule works, I think this is coming out first. These cards are really powerful, and as a result, do have point costs associated with them. Fire King Courtier Alkanix is a 20-point card, bringing us to 40. Legendary Fire King Ponix is a 10-point card, bringing us to 70. And Fire King High Avatar Kirin is also a 10-point card, which brings us to a flat 100. But there's still a huge benefit to playing this strategy. We'll get to it when I point out the individual cards, but it does stuff that no other deck can. The first important thing about this strategy is it has games against both monster and back row decks. Final Bringer of the End Times is a removal spell that this deck uniquely benefits from and can pop cards on the field, not just monsters. Additionally, Fire King Skyburn destroys cards on the field, which is really fantastic, especially when out of the board there's no guarantee you have cards like Heavy Storm and Harpy's Feather Duster just because of their high point total. This deck also gets to make use not only of the free hand traps like DD Crow and Rescue Ace Impulse into Fire Attacker, but it also gets to play Jurak Megalo. If this card is destroyed, you can send a Jurak monster from your deck or extra deck to the graveyard except Megalo. You can do this by opening it with Kirin, which is all but guaranteed on turn 2, but occasionally you will just open this 2-card combo in your hand. This allows you to send a Jurak Astero from your extra deck to the graveyard, and when you do that, during your opponent's turn, you can banish 2 Jurak monsters from your graveyard, including this card here, the Astero and the Megalo, to summon a Meteor on your opponent's turn, which wipes the board. All cards. You can do this at any point, so wait for them to set their back row or get to end phase and just eat everything alive. Importantly, Jurak Meteor is also not once per turn, so there are scenarios where you can Meteor a couple of times, like repeatedly. Finally, I will say, this blows up all cards on the field, but if you haven't activated Skyburn this turn and it's in your graveyard, you can protect it, keeping all of your board intact while your opponent's goes to the yard. It's a really cool way to kind of cobble together a Nibiru that does 10 times more than Nibiru ever will. Let's get into the individual cards in this deck. Of course, we're playing 3 Alkanix, 3 Ponix, and 3 High Avatar Kirin. Garunix here at 3, pretty standard, but also really powerful just to be able to get over opponent's monsters and pressure them. We are playing a Fire King Avatar Rangbali, a Beirong, and Arvada, and a Garunix. Rangbali is probably the one of these that's a little less standard. I think it is quite powerful just because there's such a huge suite of decks that are playable that you want that coverage. 3 DD Crow, 3 Impulse and a Fire Attacker, and 3 Megalo. We get to play 7th Tachyon, one of the very few Rotas that does not cost points, along with Star Cestus. Triple Pot of Extravagance, which is why the board looks the way it does. Final Bringer, Skyburn, Fire King Sanctuary, and Fire King Island in the extra. We've got Meteor, we've got Astero, we've got Hyang, which is super important for our deck's recoverability and our ability to interact on our opponent's turn. X-Blower, Ding, and Giant Trainer all box out very specific issues that the deck runs into, cards that can't be destroyed or cards that can't be targeted, or in Giant Trainer's case, if you get to a position where you have to burn out that last bit of your opponent's life points, and of course Star Cestus for the 7th Tachyon. So let's get into a game. Our second match is up against Bimighoul, and this is another deck that people are really excited about because there's not a lot of hits to its linear strategy. For that reason, they can stuff their deck full with cards like Triple Tactics Thrust, which get a lot better when your opponent has a card courtesy of your Mimighoul monsters. Now, it can't search Talents because that card's like 1 trillion points, but it can search powerful Going First traps, and of course Mimighoul Maker if you need your own engine. Speaking of engine, we have opened it, Kirin plus Megalo. We are going second, and I will get to show you just what this can do. Now, our opponent's going to begin with a copy of Turquoise Warbler. They're going to normal summon a Mimighoul Dragon afterwards to grab a copy of Maker. They're going to fire off the Maker and give us the Archfiend. Whew, nice. They're going to summon the Slime from their hand, at which point we are just going to go ahead and activate the Kirin, popping the Megalo. Now, they could preemptively DD Crow on this activation, but they can't anymore once we get the Astero into the yard. They're going to go Giant into DD Crow to force it now. We will go for Astero effect to go into Meteor, popping the entire field, and then afterwards they will go for a Mimighoul Dungeon. That's going to trigger, which allows them to get a copy of Dragon. They'll activate Thrust to get a DDKC and then pass it back to us. Okay, we'll draw for turn. We'll begin with a copy of 7th Tachyon. High Kieran here is a pretty good draw. We're going to put back this DD Crow, I think probably unnecessary. We'll go Fire King Island here. Let's get that Bayrong out of our grip, and then we'll normal summon this copy of Ulcanix we added. Ulcanix is going to pop the Kieran, which enables us to summon and then pop, forcing out the DDKC a little earlier than otherwise, which means we get to resolve the Garunix and keep it on field and do a lot of damage. We get to trigger the effect of the Ulcanix because we popped that to get a high Avatar Garunix, and Garunix for copy of Ponix. Finally, we're going to go for Hyang, popping our Bayrong, getting this Mimighoul dungeon off the field as well. We'll do 35 and put ourselves in a position where I think it's pretty unlikely we're going to lose. In standby, we get to trigger the effect of the Bayrong for the 3rd copy of Kieran, and Ponix comes back as well. Our opponent's going to get another Torquoise Warbler. Pretty fantastic draw here to make Assembled Nightingale, and we realize this is what they've spent their points on. There is a Zeus lurking in the extra. The Zeus here is going to be able to send, which unfortunately does kind of cook me alive. They're going to go Dragon afterwards and grab a copy of Dungeon, then Dungeon in order to get a copy of Archfiend back. They can special out this fairy, then overlay for a Throne. Here we're going to go for the Kieran. We'll summon out the Kieran, then trigger the Garunix. The Garunix summon can destroy from our field, so we will use it to destroy the Kieran, which enables us to destroy the Throne before it becomes a problem. This is going to give them another activation on Zeus, but that's just par for the course, unfortunately. Ulcanix comes back. They're going to give us an Archfiend, which is kind of frustrating with the Mimighoul dungeon up, but, you know, it is what it is. In standby, we will get back the Ponix. We'll flip up this copy of Mimighoul Archfiend in order to pitch a card and give them a draw. Then we'll go to the battle phase in order to walk into the Mimighoul Archfiend. We'll trigger the effect of the Arvada. They will trigger the effect of the Zeus, and we will bounce this copy of Mimighoul dungeon as well off of the Room. That means they're going to have it for next turn, but it means we get to Garunix, pop the Arvada, bring back the Kieran, and then afterwards we get to get over their monster. They do get to trigger Zeus one last time, but that is the last time. They get a Room in the graveyard, which means they can do the little bounce one more time, but not too big of a deal. We get to retain Arvada on our side of the field at end step, which is nice, and cycle Ponix back for next turn as they go for Dungeon one more time. Dungeon here is going to grab them a copy of Archfiend, then they will go for Dragon. Dragon to our side of the field. Oh my god. Into Archfiend. We will activate the effect of Arvada. They will activate the effect of the Room, but that doesn't do anything. They are just a little too low to continue doing this loop. If they had more life points, it's possible they could have crept out of it, but at present, looks like we're winning courtesy of High Garunix. Finally, here's some bullshit. One of the cool things about Genesys format is it enables you to play some of Yu-Gi-Oh's most powerful cards, things like Pot of Greed and Graceful Charity, which we can use to pretty powerful effect in strategies like Exodia. Now, you've probably seen some Lithium videos on this deck, and I'm not going to pretend like it's good, but it is certainly funny. Provided you can win all your die rolls, it's unlikely your opponent's going to be splashing the requisite points on a card like Droll and Lockbird, so maybe you can steal some wins courtesy of 2 Pot of Greed. Our point cards for this are Pot of Greed, which is at 30, One Day of Peace, which is at 11 apiece, and Into the Void, which I think is at 1. Realistically, I don't think this deck is particularly good, but I think it's important that I include it in the video so you can fend off accusations that this format is just full of FTKs. Let's go through the individual cards. Of course, we are playing 2 copies of the one, the only Pot of Greed. We're also playing Exodia. Link Apple, which is a whack-ass upstart. Triple Thunder Dragon, a Planet Pathfinder for our chicken game stuff, a Toon Alligator for our Toon table of contents, then Upstart, Dealings, Duality, Into the Void, Chicken Game, Hand Desk, Pseudo Space, Toon Table, Metal Foes Fusion, ODAP, and Dark Factory of Mass Production so that we can put those hand destructions to good use, getting rid of the arms and legs. So with that, let's check out a game. Our third match is up against Man. The Odeon stuff is really strong, and I expect it to be hit in some capacity, largely because it's difficult for decks that don't have access to powerful cards out of the sideboard to deal with this strategy. Importantly, it also gets to play Dominus Purge, which may be a problem for us. We've opened fine. You know, who knows if the hand is good or not. We're going to get a new one momentarily. Let's see if we can do it. We're going to begin with a copy of Chicken Game. Pay 1,000. Let's draw a card. That's Chicken Game. Chicken Game for Chicken Game. Let's pay 1,000. Draw a card. Okay, that's Pseudo Space. Pseudo Space for Chicken Game to draw a card. Let's see if we can do it. We're going to get a Upstart Goblin. Let's draw a card. Dark World Dealings here is going to grab us a copy of Metal Foes Fusion. That's free. We'll draw a card, and it's Pot of Greed into Dominus Purge. Into Hand Destruction. Take that. Now, we can't pitch the Exodia here because we have no way of getting it back. They're going to go for Apophis here to get out of Apophis from deck also. We found the other Pot of Greed, so we will go for that. Then we're going to go for TTC into TTC into TTC into Toon Alligator. Then afterwards, we can go for the Dark World Dealings, and then I realize I probably should have Thunder Dragon first. No harm, no foul. We will Thunder Dragon now for a couple of cards. Then Odop, come on, let's go. We're down to our last card. Okay, Planet Pathfinder is an additional card. Chicken Game here. We're going to pay 1,000 in order to draw a card once again. What are we finding off the top? It is another Chicken Game. Let's go for the Pseudo Space, targeting Chicken Game to draw a card off the top. What do we get? It is a copy of Hand Destruction. Down goes the Thunder Dragons and into the Void, into the Void, into Hand Destruction might be able to get us out of this. Oh, well, we can't Hand Desk again because we only have one Dark Factory. All right, you win. I hope this gives you a little bit of insight into what might be good the first day of Genesys format, but I hope it also lights a fire within you to start deck building on your own. If you want to be able to do that and can't get into the official Konami-based website, like all of us, you can always head over to www.ygoprodeck.com, where their deck builder now has Genesys Point integration. See you there. So that's that. Thanks so much for watching. These 10-minute testings are made possible by, and occasionally suggested by, my patrons, some of whom have paid a lot of money to be mentioned at the end of the episode. Here are them now. Elena Tincher, Allison Elliott, Ally, APK Pearly Tier 0, Brett Henry, Captive XC, Cool Name, Damon O'Neill, Dark Rebel XYZ, DJ Elefante, El Gravo, El Guacho Malas Opiniones, Emiliano De Verino, NB Adams, Fabrizio Petroli, Felix, Garrett Rand, Hergalicious, John Paradise, Night Mary, Legal Rights, Lucas Rosas, Luis Hernandez, Master Key 090, Matthew M. Derezzo, MBT Play Madolce, Mike Carlotti, N54 Lionheart, Nacho Gonzalez, Pombo, Project Mercury, Rants Are My Thing, Rohan Doge, Rose Lapine, Serpentax, Sly Ninja 43, Soul CLG, Troy Says By Erasure Is Gay, Buznik, Yuki Kazami, and Zircon Sun. Couldn't have done it without you.